this is my mother's recipe, and this is one of them that I have barely touched. I've left it alone. They are the best meatballs ever. And so I've got 1.5 pounds of hamburger. Sometimes I do use pork, half and half mixture, but today all I have is the hamburger. So we're going to put 3 eggs in. 2 eggs is what the regular recipe called for 1 pound of meat. We're going to put in about, let's see, 3/4 cup of milk. I've got a little bit more than that in here, but it's good. And garlic powder, I usually just do by eye, so I'm thinking that a teaspoon, a little bit more than a teaspoon. Onion powder, a little bit less than a teaspoon. And some parsley flakes, and that's probably 1.5 tablespoons. Okay, then we're going to put, I'm gonna mix that up just a little bit so the breadcrumbs, we'll just get that a little bit mixed up. These are Progresso Italian style. I make my own breadcrumbs sometimes. I just don't happen to have any, so I'm going to put 1.5 cups of this in. And the measurements on this are kind of, once again, by eye, but that's 1.5 cups. And then about 3/4 to a cup of cheese. It calls for 1/2 cup, but I guess I'd have messed with this a little bit, but I would say I'm going to use all of this. It doesn't look like it's quite a cup, so we'll call that good. And then I'm just going to start mixing this all together. See how that feels. This is a feel thing. If you feel like you've got too much milk in there, you want to be able to form a nice firm meatball. Just want to make sure that you get it into every little, completely mixed. You don't, like, you wouldn't want to start now with meatballs because that doesn't have any product in it yet at all. So you really need to work this. And I'm going to use regular table salt, and I'm going to put a little bit, probably 1/2 teaspoon, maybe a little bit less. I don't want them to get too salty because the sauce is also going to have salt in it. And then we're going to add a couple of pinches of pepper. That's a nice big pinch. I think that's sufficient. And then we're going to start mixing again, because even though we've been mixing, there's another piece of hamburger that doesn't have any product in it. So it takes longer than you think it should. And if you do this right, all of the meatballs will be really consistent. And that is looking really, it feels wonderful. It feels like it's got the right ratio of everything in it. I'm going to bake these in the oven, and I'm going to put some olive oil on some parchment paper. Whoops. It keeps them, no matter how much olive oil or oil you put on these, they will stick to the bottom of the pan, and this helps. If you don't have parchment paper, that's fine, and if they stick, just take a spatula and dig them off quickly and they'll be fine. Okay. So the key here is to get these as round and without the cracks as you can. You kind of get a feel for how much you need to make for them to be somewhat consistent. If you really wanted these to, if I was making this to be, fancy, I would put these in an ice cream scoop and do them that way, but I'm just going to make them very close to the same size. Okay, so we're just about done with these meatballs, rolling them up, and there they are. There's a little piece left. I'll just put that on there because that's what I do. Okay, we'll put this over here. I'll wash my hands. So I think these are probably about the size, a little bit bigger than golf balls. No, you know, they're pretty close to a golf ball. You can make these, if I'm making these to make like meatball sandwiches, I make them a little bit bigger. You can make these any size. My mother used to make them very much smaller than this. Anything you like. These just seem to carry, I like the way these work with the sauce, with the spaghetti sauce. So, all right, so the next, we're gonna put some olive oil on here because these are, so you can fry these. I'm opting not to today, but I am going to put, it won't absorb all of this, but to get that fried looking outside, the crispy, you want to get these oiled. And so once again, we're just gonna get our hands in there and rub them all over with the oil. It's really important when you're working with meat like this that you wash your hands in between every step that you do so that you don't contaminate the food you're working with. Okay, so just separate them so they're not touching. So I'm just going to sprinkle these so that when you pick them up off of the cookie tray, because everyone does, you get this delicious bite of meatballs and salt and olive oil. This is the other reason I didn't add as much salt as I normally would to a mixture this large. Okay. And I'll just drop a little pepper on those as well, way up high on this. Don't want too much on there, just a little taste. Okay. So the meatballs are going in the oven now at about, I think I'm going to put them in at 400 degrees. So these look great, and we'll put them in. Stay away from, stand behind me. Thank you. And we'll come back and check on those in a little bit. Right? Yeah, we're going to come check on them. Mwah! Okay. Just a minute. I'll be right there. I'm just flipping my meatballs over.